All right, so once again, you're all welcome to today's class. If you observed, the topic that is on the screen is Module 3B, Access Control. Yesterday, we looked at the topic Access Control. And in our topic, we understand that generally, network defense is about protecting the network. Ethical hacking is about attacking the network. Okay, so while ethical hacking is about attacking the network, network defense is about prevention, securing your network to prevent any unauthorized entry. And we saw quite a lot of things that we are going to look into. And most importantly, we looked at the concept of the AAA, all right? Authentication, authorization, and accounting. Now, we were not able to finish the module, and then we went into a packet tracer activity. While taking our packet tracer activity, we had a challenge at a particular point. Our emails were not communicating well. So I promised you that I'm going to take a look at it, and then today we will revisit it. So what we'll be doing today, we will actually continue from where we stopped as regards the lectures, and then we will continue from where we stop as regards the packet tracer. I will let you know where the error was, where we had our challenge yesterday, where we got the errors. I was able to trace it, and then we will now roll it up from there. If time still permits, then we will take in another packet tracer activity. All right. So that being said, let me just quickly go down to where we stopped. Think. Right. Good. We were looking at account management. Account management. That was where we stopped. So we were supposed to look at account management, and then we went into that. So we will quickly look at this, then we will tidy up our packet tracer. Now, remember what we said yesterday. A little recap is to say that we have different levels of permissions that you grant on access to files and to system or to services. And the aspect of file access control is looking at where you have permissions or rules that you have configured to limit folder or file access by an individual or group, and can help secure your data. Okay, so the concept here basically is on limiting access to files and folders. Okay, so if somebody has a particular credentials, there is a limit to what he or she can view. Users should be limited to only the resource they need on a computer system to work. Now, all this concept of policies that we're giving, I want you to begin to picture it in your own company or your organization or your institution where you work. All right. And if some of these measures are not in place, then you can decide to pick it up and then ensure that you put it out there. It may be easier to provide access to the entire drive, but it is more secure to limit access to only the folder they need. And that is particularly true. All right. This is the principle of least privilege. All right. We looked at the principle of least privilege yesterday. So limiting access to resource also prevents criminals from accessing those resources if the user's computer becomes infected. So when we looked at that, we saw the fact that you can have full control, you can have modify control, you can have read and executable, you can have write, and you can have read. Okay, now all those ones are like file permissions that you grant to your system, all right, or you grant to your user. And we said that if an administrator denies an individual or group permissions to a network share, it will override any other permission settings. The user cannot access that share, even if the user is the administrator or part of that particular group. The local security policy must outline the resources and the type of access allowed for each user and group. So after parent folder permissions have been set, folders and files created inside the parent folder inherit the permissions that are there. All right. Even in your normal Windows folder, you can even do that. Okay, even in your mobile normal Windows folder, you can do that. So let me show you an example. Let me just go to a folder. Let me create a folder and then I'll show you. I'll share my screen and then show you. Right, so good. So let me share my screen now. Okay. Okay. So where's the folder? Here is it. So I want to believe now you can see this folder. Now, this folder that I have created now, okay, this folder I've created now, let's assume I'm inside the folder. Let me create another folder and let me just call it test folder. Now, in this test folder, just see, I can just right click here and then I will go to properties. All right. If I go to properties, now you see these attributes. There is read-only and there is hidden. That is not where I'm concerned about. Okay. Let me come here. Let me see. Sharing. Now, for me to share this particular folder, there are certain things I need to do. I will need to define, you see here, the permission level. I will need to select the user, add it, then define the permission level, whether the person can read, write, or read and write. Okay. And
it's not visible, sir.
It's not visible?
Yes, we can't see that.
Uh-oh. Okay, let me do it. Okay. All right. So now if I click share this folder here, all right, you see this share folder that I click here. Can you see it? Now here is permissions. Can you see? Under permissions, I can say I will allow the person to read. I can deny the person. I can allow the person to change, or I can allow the person to have full control, or I can even deny. So what we are saying is that if I apply this, for instance, if I say I permit this, I say full control, that means this user, this everyone user, anybody that has access to this computer is going to have full access. But if I don't want everyone, I want to give a particular person, then I will have to come and then create a user and then grant that permission to that user. This is just on my own laptop, my own Windows system. But when you have a server that houses all your files and houses all your stuffs, that particular server happens to be able to, how do I say it, will be able to view all or manage all the files that you have. Okay, so the concept of file management comes to that particular server because you have a lot of documents you want to share. So that is what we are saying. There are different permissions that are added. And when you create a permission on a particular folder, it is inherent in all the content of that particular folder, unless you decide to change it. So it is always good to to specify those permissions, okay? Still on your Windows operating system, there are what we call account policies in Windows. In most networks that use Windows computers, like if you have maybe Windows Server editions even in your system, an administrator configures what they call Active Directory with domain or Windows Server. If you don't have that, I think you should have it. It's a very powerful tool. The Active Directory, in fact, if you want to set up even the AAA, the AAA you want to set up, you can do it using the Active Directory. It's just a service you are just going to enable in your Windows server, all right? So Windows computers that join the domain become domain members. The administrator configures a domain security policy that applies to all domain members. When a computer is not part of the Active Directory domain, the user configures policies through Windows Local Security Policy. In all versions of Windows, except Home Edition, if we enter this particular command, all right? If you enter this particular command, it will bring you to what they call Local Security Policy. And in your local security policy is the security policy on your own laptop. For instance, in your laptop, you have maybe 3 accounts or 4 accounts. You have your own, the admin, you have maybe guests, and then you have maybe somebody else uses your laptop or something. You can create policies for what the person can do on that laptop and what he cannot do. For your information, if you observe some of these NGOs, all right, you get to work with NGOs, they will give you a laptop, they will provide you with a laptop to use, and they will tell you that don't use any other device for their work except that laptop. And in that laptop, what they just do is that they create an account for you, and then they put in so many policies behind. So while you are working on that particular system, there are certain things you cannot do on that laptop. There are certain things you can do. There are those things you cannot do. And you don't have the core admin account because you're not the one that set it up. You were just given the laptop to use. So that is where they use all that. So you can do what they call account lock policy. An account lock policy locks an account for a duration when too many incorrect login attempts. Maybe somebody is trying to boot force your account by forcing a password. It tries this password, it didn't go. It tries another one, it didn't go. It tries another one, it didn't go. All right. So you could say after 3 successful attempts within 10 seconds, 3 unsuccessful attempts within 10 seconds, and shut down the system or lock the system or carry out a particular thing. You can do that within Windows. Okay. You can also do what they call audit policies. More security settings are available by selecting the local policy folders in Windows. An audit policy creates security log file used to track your account login events, audit account management, directory service access, object access, policy changes, privilege use, and so on and so forth. So I'm just saying within your local Windows, there are so many things you can do to apply policies, apply security. The same thing with your Windows server. The same thing with your Linux system, and the same thing with your Linux server, whichever one that you are using. The point is that always create security on the user account, okay? Now, authentication and authorization issues include unencrypted credential, incorrect permissions, and access violations. So authentication management aims to ensure secure signing while still providing ease of use. That's what we call the single sign-on, right? single sign-on solutions allow the user to use one set of login credentials to authenticate across multiple applications. This way, the user only needs to remember one strong password, right? And that is on that one. Then you have the oath, what we call the oath, the OATH. It is a standard that enables a user's account information to be used by third-party services such as Facebook or Google. All right? There are certain websites or certain applications that you want to log in, and then they tell you you can use your Google accounts to log in, or they tell you you can use your Facebook account to log in. So what they are doing is that Facebook has created an auth access login so that third-party applications can synchronize with your Google or Facebook activity accounts and then use to authenticate you logging in, right? Then we have what they call the password vault, can protect and store users' credentials while with a single strong password required to access them, right? Many organizations implement what we call the KBA, which is the knowledge-based authentication, to provide a password reset, all right, should a user forget their password. So the KBA is based on personal information known by the user or series of questions. Okay, you forgot your password. They ask you, when was the last time you logged in? What was your last password? What is your date of birth? What's your mother's maiden name? They begin to ask you some security questions just to validate that you are who you are. Okay. All these things that we're looking at securing your account, your user account. All right. So we have the what we call the HMAC, the hash-based message authentication code. The keyword there is hash. Hashing means encrypting. All right. You have a particular value, and then you change the way it looks, right? So HMAC uses an encryption key with a hash function to authenticate a web user. So using HMAC, the user sends a private key identifier and an HMAC. The server looks up the user's private key and creates an HMAC. Now, the concept of this is where you have two devices trying to connect, right? You have maybe PC1 here, and then you have a server here, all right? And then you have maybe the cloud here. Now, some concept you use is what they call the VPN. VPN means virtual private network. It is a system where it helps you to securely connect to your local network remotely, all right, especially through the internet. So you have your PC, this is in your house, and then you are using your mobile router to connect to the internet, all right, to the internet. Then it now connects from the internet, it connects to your edge router, and then to your firewall, and then to your DMZ or to your server. So you are able to connect to this guy, assuming you are, the server will think that you are locally connected here, all right? But you are away. How does it happen? By hashing algorithm. All right, many web services uses basic authentication, which does not encrypt username and password. But VPN using IPsec rely on HMAC functions to authenticate the origin of every packet and provide data integrity checking. So even if the packet is intercepted, the content has been hashed. There's nothing you can do about it. You cannot be able to interpret it, because what happens is that the PC here generates a code that will be used to decode it. And it is the server here that will be able to decode it. So anybody that intercepts it on the way in the middle definitely need to understand what this code is, or need to understand what this code is. And you cannot know the source or the destination code unless you are the source or the destination. And that is why it's often said that VPN is very, very secure. Cisco products use hashing for entity authentication, data integrity, and data authenticity purpose. All right. So this is what we say, for instance. This is the hashing funnel. This is just an instance. And it gives you data integrity, data authenticity based on this. Now, what happens? You decide to have a particular value. Let's say, maybe you say, let's say Cisco, you put it inside this funnel. And once you put it inside this funnel, the funnel will now hash it. This is the hashing algorithm, and it will bring out something that looks like this. Now, the key that is used in the hashing, you don't know. Now, this is what will be sent across the network. It is only when it gets to its destination that it will be decoded. So IPsec gateway and clients use hashing algorithm such as the MD5 or the HS1. These ones are different algorithms, examples, all right? So MD5, message digest files, that's message digest. SH1, HMAC, they are all different modes to provide integrity and authenticity. When we say integrity, we are saying the ability to trust that particular data. All right. If we say the data does not have integrity, which means that it can be altered along the path. It can be altered along the path. But if it has integrity, it will not be altered along the path. Authentication protocols and technologies. An authentication protocol authenticates data between two entities to prevent unauthorized access. The word entity can refer to any device on a system within an organization. A protocol outlines the type of information that needs to be shared to authenticate and to connect, all right? So we have different authentication protocols or technology. So when we're talking about the protocols, we're talking about those rules that helps to run that particular service, right? So we have the one, what they call the EAP, Extensible Authentication Protocol. It's a password from the client is sent using a hash to the authentication server. The authentication server has a certificate, all right? Then we have what they call the PAP, Password Authentication Protocol. This one, a username and password are sent to a remote server in plain text, okay? In plain text. So most network operating system remote servers support PAP. Then you have what we call the CHAP, CHAP, the Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol. It validates the identity of remote clients using a one-way hashing function created by the client. So the client that generates the message will create the hashing and the code that he used to hash. And then you, the receiver, should be able to know what that code is. All right. So the server, okay, the service says that the service also calculates expected hash value. The server or the authenticator compares the two values. If the values match, the transmission continues. But if the values does not match, the transmission is stopped immediately. Then we have the 802.1x, all right? An organization authenticates your identity and authorize access to the network. Your identity is determined based on credentials or certificate, which is confirmed by the radio server, all right? So this and this, in most cases, if you have Mikrotik router box in your university or your institution or organization, you will discover that it runs this particular protocol. Okay, even the Windows radio server, you know, when you're configuring a radio server on Windows server, it also runs on this particular protocol. Okay, so then you have the attackers. All right, it encrypts all data, username, password, accounting, authorized services, everything. It encrypts between the client and the server. And this is very, 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 very secure. Okay, but it comes in like a device. Right, in most cases, it's proprietary. Okay, so we have Kerberos. It uses strong encryption, requesting a client to provide identity to a server, with the server in turn authenticating itself. Okay. Applications of cryptographic hash functions. Cryptographic hash functions helps us to ensure data integrity and verify authentication. Cryptographic hash functions are used in the following situations. One, to provide proof of authenticity when used with symmetric secret authentication key, such as the IP security or IPsec in routing protocols authentication. Okay. It also provides authentication by generating one-time and one-way response to challenges in authentication protocols. So to provide message integrity check or proof and public key infrastructure. I am sure most of you that visit websites that use what they call SSL, all right, secure socket layer. You know, it's like a security encryption protocol that helps to ensure that your data on the website as you log in and things like that is encrypted and secure. So that particular function works based on this cryptographic hash function. Now we have different control strategies. We have the mandatory access control. We have, which we talked about yesterday. We talked about that. We talked about the discretionary access control. We also talked about the role-based access control, and then the rule-based. All right. So we talked about the RBAC for role-based, and then the rule-based, right? So, all right, this is the last segment for this. Let's look at the AAA operation. A network must be designed to control who is allowed to connect to it and what they are allowed to do when they are connected. That is part of what this does. So it's encourageable that we set it up. These design requirements are identified in network security policy. The policies specify how network administrators, corporate users, remote users, business partners, and clients access the network resources. So the network security policy can also mandate the implementation of an accounting system that tracks who logs in, when and what they did while they log in. All right. The authentication, authorization, and accounting protocol provides the necessary framework to enable scalable access security. So the three independent security functions provided by the AAA architectural framework are the authentication, authorization, and the accounting. This concept is like the use of a credit card. So the credit card identifies who can use it, how much that user can spend, and keeps accounts of what items that the user spends on. Okay. The three independent security functions provided are authentication. We have looked at it in detail, but users and administrators must prove that they are who they say they are. All right. That means if I'm using my staff number to log in, I must have my own password. And once I log in, the system documents it. And everything that I do on that network is be documented based on that particular staff ID. So even if there is a suspicion, that will happen. In fact, let me give you a scenario, a real life scenario of what happened. Where I work, there was people that use the internet very well. Part of what we observed was that a lot of people like to download. They download a lot and they use a lot of tools to do this. Okay, one of the tools that they use that is called BitTorrent. BitTorrent is an application, what we call a peer-to-peer, all right, or they call it to P2P. How does it work? This is basically how it works. So let's say this is a PC, all right? Then this is another PC, okay? Then this is another PC here. And then this is another PC. Now, this is the internet. All these PCs are connected to the internet. The issue here is that how this P2P application work. If this PC has a video or a file or a software, it has, if I install BitTorrent on this PC, I install this PC becomes server, it becomes client. If I install it here, this one also becomes server and becomes client. If I install the application here, the system becomes server and then client. All right. The same thing here. So any system that installs that BitTorrent or any P2P application, that system is serving as a server and as a client. Why do I say so? If I have a file here on this PC, let's say I have maybe a video, a movie I downloaded, okay? And once I download this movie on the internet, my system becomes a server. And people out there, if anybody is searching for that particular movie he wants to download, that person, the internet will refer the person to my PC if that person has that BitTorrent application installed. So if all these PCs have BitTorrent installed and they are searching for that movie, the internet will route them to this PC. Say, you can download it from this particular PC one. So people will begin to download. So the same thing goes for all of them. They all become servers and clients. Any file that you download and you save, other people in the world can access it. So in that my office, someone was looking for a particular movie and he didn't get the movie. And it was a movie that was recently released. So how he got that movie, I really don't know. So apparently, somebody that had BitTorrent on his system had that particular movie. And so he got to see that movie and he quickly downloaded it to his system. When he downloaded it to his system, other people, the other person that had that movie deleted it. So every other person in the world, anybody that was looking for that movie was being referred to PC1 here. And the owner of PC1 was not aware of it, was not aware that his system is being used as a server. And so people were using to download the movie. Apparently, the company that owns that movie discovered so, and then they decided to run a trace. And when they traced the IP address and discovered the IP address is coming from my organization, then they wrote a lawsuit. They wrote a query and a law suit to the organization that, look, you people, a system in your organization with the so IP address, this MAC address, on so date has this particular file that is restricted and people are using to download. So we are suing your organization, or you will have to define measures where this particular file is going to go. So now it is now left for the organization to trace who that particular IP is. Are we together? That is the importance of this AAA. So what did we do? We quickly now picked the IP and ran it through our AAA server. And when we ran it through, we discovered that, this IP, different people were using this IP because it's a DHCP. And we decided to correspond it to the timing that the video company said. And when we did that, it brought a particular user. Are you with me? It brought a particular user that has been authenticated here. That user has been authenticated here. So when we saw the user, we decided to track the traffic or backtrack the traffic of that particular user. And how did we backtrack it? We used accounting, the accounting model. The accounting model says that what? It records what the user does, including what is accessed, the amount of time, resources accessed, and any changes that were made. It keeps track of how network resources are used. That is what the accounting does. So when we did that, we now did this. At the end of the day, we identified the user. We contacted the user, and apparently the user was not even aware something was going on. So we only just advised the user on what to do, which he complied, and that was it. That was the end of the case. Now, imagine in your organization, you don't have this. How then can you be able to authenticate your user? How then would you be able to prove whatever cases that comes to your way? So triple authentication can be used to authenticate users for administrative access or even remote networks. So for those who have who are server administrators or network administrators, you want to work from home. You know, all these organizations, foreign organizations, there are work that they say you can work from home. You know, there are remote jobs. Even NGOs do that, you know, abroad, they do that. And all they do for you is they just provide you with login details. They provide you login details, provide you the platform, and tell you what you need to be doing. And so based on the rights that you have, that is just what you will be able to work. So those usernames are and passwords, they are stored locally in a server or locally on the system. All right. Now, there are two types of protocols that can be used for this purpose. There's what we call the radios, and there is the TACOS Plus. All right. TACOS Plus. Now, the TACOS Plus is mostly Cisco devices that it works on. But the radios protocol works on all free and open source devices like Linux and Windows is free. Okay, so when it comes to functionality on TACOS, it separates authentication, authorization, and accounting functions according to the AAA architecture, allowing modularity of the security server information. In radios, it combines authentication and authorization, but separates accounting, allowing less flexibility in implementation than TACOS. So when it comes to functionality, the TACOS is a bit more flexible than the radio server. But at the end of the day, you get the result. When it comes to the standards, it's mostly supported by Cisco devices. But here it is open. The standard is open. You can use it for any. All right. Now, how about the transport? This one works on TCP port 49. This one works on UDP port 1812 or 1813, and then 1645 and 1646. Okay. How about the CHAP protocol for TACAs is bidirectional challenge. That means both go transmission and receiving. But for radios is unidirectional challenge and response from radio security server to the radio's client. How about confidentiality? It encrypts the entire body of the packet, but leaves a standard packet TACA's header. Here in radios, it encrypts only the password in the access request packet from the client server. Customization for TACAs, it provides authentication of router commands on a per user or per group basis. And then for radios, it has no option to authenticate router commands on per user or per group basis. And then for accounting, TACAs is limited, but radios is extensive. Now, you may want to know which one should I use. In most cases, if you are having Cisco devices, if you can afford the Cisco device, AAA device, you can go for it. It will give you what you need, okay? But if you cannot afford it because it's usually costs intensive, if you cannot afford it, then you go for the radios. You configure it and it's free for that. The accounting logs, centralized AAA also enables the use of accounting method. Accounting records from all devices are sent to centralized repositories, which simplifies auditing of user actions. AAA accounting collects and reports usage data in AAA logs that are useful for security auditing. So the collected data might include the start and stop connection times, executed commands, number of packets, and number of bytes. One widely deployed use of accounting is to combine it with AAA authentication. This helps with managing access to internetworking devices by network administrative staff. All right. Now, what we are saying here is that you can have a particular system configured for your accounting, which is for your logs. You know, some of you must have heard about syslog. All right. Syslog means system log. It's like a server you have kept aside, you have dedicated particularly for logs. All right. That's basically what we are saying here. Right? So when a user has been authenticated, the AAA accounting process generates a start message to begin the accounting process. So when the user finishes, a stop message is recorded and the accounting process actually ends. Okay? So for instance here, in this particular network, if you observe, this is like your servers. This is your file server, your email server, your web server. All right. And it's connected to the network. Now, in the organization, there are different rooms. This is like the IT office here. This is like class 3, class 2, that's room this, and this is a different room. All right. So you have different network segments and things like that. And you have internet. If you wish to access any of these resources here from any of these systems here, if you wish to access it, you must go through an authentication process. All right. You must go through an authentication process. So once you go through that authentication process, it gives us different types of accounting or login that can be done here, right? Number one, we have the network accounting. What it does, it captures information on your network sessions. If you enter this router or you enter this switch or any of these devices, that is where your network accounting happens. Your connection accounting keeps logs of from the time you log in and then your time that you leave, right? the exec accounting, the system accounting, the command accounting, all this one are different logs of activities of what you have done, where you go, how you do, what you did, and things like that. Right? So this is the summary of Module 3, and basically is talking about access control, right? Access control. And remember, we talked about from the beginning, let me just go to the beginning here. We talked about access control. We have 3 types. We have the physical access control. Then we have the logical access control. Then you have the administrative access control, right? So we discussed all those. And then we talked about the federated identity management, the authentication methods, and that is where we looked at till we come to an end. So let me now take us to our packet tracer. A packet tracer that we have done. I will quickly show us what we did. Okay. All right. Now, this was the packet tracer that we worked on yesterday, right? For the purpose of those probably that were not here yesterday, let me just recap it briefly, right? We configured, it's a 3-part activity, part 1, part 2, part 3, okay? We were able to successfully do part 1, where we were asked to configure and use AAA authentication credentials. We hooked at part 2, we did, and we stopped at a particular point. So let me go there. So in this part 1, we configured different user accounts here. All right. And step 2, we configured the wireless authentication on the laptops. And then when we came to part 2, we created these users. This is user 1, HQ user 1, HQ user 2, and HQ and BR user 1, and then BR user 2. We did that. Now, when we came to configure email addresses, we configured the email address on the devices. All right. We configured the email address on PC 1.1, and then we now went and configured email. These are the details that we used in configuring the email. Okay. Then we saved, and then we were asked to use the information in the table to configure the settings for 2.3, HQ laptop 1, net admin, and PC 2-3. That was what we were asked to do. We now did that successfully. The challenge came in when we were asked to send an email. All right, we were supposed to send an email from one PC to the other and verify that that email is a success. So when we sent the mail, we did not get success. When we sent the mail, we did not get success. It was not delivering. And we verified our configuration, everything was okay. So we ended the class as at then. So after the class, I decided to go through it and check what the error was. And I discovered what the error or what the problem is. And the problem was basically here, where we were setting up this. This is where the problem is, okay? This PC 2.3 with this email address, can you see? This is the PC here, PC 2.3, all right? This PC 2.3 here, when we come to configure mail, you see, this is the problem. Initially, I think we did BR user one coming. This was what we did. Okay, this is what we did because we were asked to use this email. Can you see this email BR user one at mail.cyberhq.com. This is the email address, right? So we configured it BR user one at mail.cyberhq.com. So this is what we configured. And if you check, our percentage was 70%. All right. And then when we check receive email, because we had sent the email, we checked receive email, there was no email received. So what did I do? I simply came here. You see here where it says check results. When I clicked check results, comes to assessment here. You see, this is what we did. Everything was correct for 1-1. Then for 2-3, can you see username and password for email is wrong? Username and password for email is wrong. So what does that actually mean? What it simply means is that we made an error here, all right, when we were creating the activity. It's an error when we're building this activity. So I didn't want to correct it behind. I needed, because most of you are going to have this. If you are doing this activity, you're going to have this. So, but the correct email, where is it? Let me come, where are we? Okay, this is where we are. We'll come to email. All right. So the correct email was supposed to be BR2, BR user 2. So we interchanged it. So, but if you do BR user 2, you see your completion will reduce by 1 mark. Okay, which is okay. That's why I'm saying that it's okay. So you see it has reduced by 1 mark. But if you check receive, you will see you will receive your mail now. So this is the mail that you see we have received. If we had done it the other way, we may not receive the mail. But now we'll be able to receive the mail. Okay. So that was just what we did. So if we put back BR user 1, and then, okay, the mail has already been received. If not, you will not be able to see it, right? So the mail has already been received. Okay. So that was majorly the problem. We were asked to test, okay? We were asked to test, and it says click receive and read the email from Suki. All right, who is Suki? Suki is this particular person that we did on PC 1-1. Where's PC 1-1? This is PC 1-1 here. All right. So this is we sent a mail from PC 1-1, and we send it to BR user. Okay. So that was it. So we've solved that problem now. Now, the next activity is in the part 3. So we have not done this, right? We have not done this. So we are doing it now together. So in this part 3, it says configure and use FTP services. FTP simply means file transfer protocol. It is a service that you use in order to transfer files. Maybe you have files instead of in your network, in your organization, instead of each time people want to download something, they go to the internet. Every time they want to download, they go to the internet. So to conserve your bandwidth, you can do an analysis of what are those files, what are those things that people frequently download, all right, that are useful to the organization. If it is software, what types of softwares? If it is a particular type of file, what type of file? Then download them, look for a particular server, and keep them. So anytime people are in need of those files, they will just reach out to the FTP server and download it. So it frees up your internet space for other activity, makes your internet faster. All right, so let's activate the FTP service. So where A says navigate to the wiring closet. Where is our wiring closet? This is our wiring closet here. We navigate to our wiring closet, and there it says on the right side rack, click FTP server. I guess this is FTP server. Look at the name there, FTP server. So we click FTP server, and then it says go to services tab, and then under FTP services. So this is services. Then we go to FTP, file transfer protocol. So this is FTP, right? You see the files. These are different files that have been dropped here, frequent files to be downloaded. Then it says, and then FTP under services, then turn on FTP services. So this is FTP here. We'll just turn it on here. All right, that's all we need to do in this case. All right, then I haven't done that. It says C. Okay, turn on, we have done C. Then step 2. Step 2, it says create the FTP user account. Under the user FTP, enter the following username and password and privileges. Click add user for each. Note, be sure username Myla does not include delete as one of the other privileges. All right, what do we mean here? Let me show you. Let me do it this way. Okay, let me put it more. Right. So this is the user privileges. And then you see Myla here. You see the other ones have read, write, read, delete, rename list. Can you see? Write, read, delete, rename list. But see Myla says write, read, rename list. So there's no delete. And that's why the note is saying be sure the username Malia does not include delete as one of the privileges. All right. So let's get to it. Okay, so verify each user correctly when you do that. So let's create the users. So how do we create the user? We go back to our here. You see, this is the username. This is the password here, right? So let me see. Let's copy this. Suki as the username, and then the password is Cisco123. And then what did they say for the permissions? Permissions here is write, read, delete, rename lists. So I will give him write, read, delete, rename, and lists. All right. Then I add. The next one is Julo. Password Cisco321. It says write, read, delete, rename, and lists. Then we add it. Then the next one is Malia. The password Cisco123. Okay. And we are just to use write, read, rename, and lists. And then we add. Okay. So that's what we have done. So let's scroll down. It says verify each user is correctly created and close the server. So let's close the server. Close the server here. Step 3. Let's see what step 3 is saying. It says transfer files between NetAdmin and the FTP server. We're to transfer files between the NetAdmin and the FTP server. How do we do that? We click NetAdmin PC and then click desktop and then open the command prompt. This is the NetAdmin PC. Can you see it? NetAdmin. So we click NetAdmin and then go to desktop and then command prompt. This is the command prompt. And then it says enter the command FTP file transfer protocol and then 192.168.75.2 and then we press enter. Okay, so you see, then it's telling us welcome to PTFTP server. Enter username. Okay, so we are to enter the username. Now, the username we are given to enter is this one, Suki, and then this is the password because we have created that. So, Suki, that's the username, and then password Cisco123. Okay, so can you see it has logged us? It has logged us in, and you see the prompt has now changed. All right, which means we are in the FTP server. So we want to check the files that are in there, which is like the directory. Okay, we will check that first. It says enter the command dir to list the files on the FTP. So you just type dir, which means directory. All right, so it's going to list. So these are the files that are there. Good. I don't know whether you can see them. These are the files from here. Can you see? These are the files that have been dropped on this FTP server. These are the files. Okay. Now it says use the get command to download this particular file, amessage.txt. Look at the file here. So we want to download this particular file. This is the size of the file, right? So it says that we should use get, this get command, all right, to download the file. So we'll now say get a .txt. All right. So once we do that, what did it tell us? File transfer in progress. Then it says transfer complete. And then it gives us the size of the file. And then that is it. So it has downloaded. Okay. So this is the command that we just used. Right. Then it says quit the FTP session. And then so exit or quit. All right. So once we have quit, it has brought us back to the Windows, the command prompt where we are. Okay. It says close the command prompt, click text editor, and then open to file, open and open the downloaded file. Okay. So I'm going to close this. And then it says we should go to text editor. Where is our text editor? Look at it here. You see? Click text editor. And then it says open file, and then we should open the downloaded file. Open. Go open. So we see the file that we downloaded, amessage.txt. See the size, 57 bytes. So open. All right. So you see, it says greetings. You have successfully accessed the FTP folder. All right. So you see, this is very, very interesting. You have set up the FTP server. Building the FTP server and setting it up is another class on its own. But we are just trying to show how by creating authentication, user authentication, you can use that to access FTP files. Okay. And then it says, what message did you see in the file? Okay, we've seen it. G says, click file, open new, and type a message of your choice. Okay. Sorry. Where are we? Right, so I guess this is it. This is where we are. So it says open file and go to new. Okay. And then it says type a message of your choice. I'll say it's a wonderful thing to know how to defend your network from threat actors. Good. So we have typed something. It says message of our choice. Right. So where did he say? Okay, he says click file, save, and save the message as this now. So we're going to now file, save, and we're going to use the same similar concept. Say a message new.txt. Okay. We have saved the message. It says close the editor. Close the editor. We have closed it. Use command prompt, then log back into FTP server using Suki, the Suki this thing. So we go to command prompt. Okay. And then we'll log in using the FTP server, username Suki, password Cisco123. Okay. Okay. Now it says use the put command to upload the file. So we see we use the get command to download it. So we want to upload. So we say put, then we put the file name underscore txt. Transfer in progress. This file size is 74 bytes, and voila, it's there. Okay. And then, so if I do dir, let's see whether, so can you see it now? The file that we have uploaded, right? Okay. So verify user privilege are working as configured. All right, so navigate back to HQ and click laptop desktop 1. So let's go back to HQ. This is HQ. Click HQ laptop 1. Where is HQ laptop 1? Let's see, is it this one? This is HQ laptop 2. HQ laptop 1. No. Yes, this is it. Good, this is it here. Okay. Let's close this mail here. Now, it says navigate back to HQ and click it. You have done that. Go to desktop, command prompt. So desktop, command prompt. Then log into the FTP server at this. So we're going to use Malia. So we'll now see FTP 192.168.75.2. Okay. Username Malia. Password Cisco. I think we use, did we use Cisco 123? I think it's not Cisco 123. Anyway, let me use Cisco 123 and see. Cisco 123. Oh, that's logged in. So probably we use Cisco 123. All right. It says use the delete command to attempt to remove the newly uploaded file. Right? So remember in Malia, we did not enable them to delete. So on a normal day, we are not supposed to delete. So let's try delete a message new.txt. See what we got. It says deleting so file from this error. We have, what did he say? Permission denied. Good. Request action not taken, permission denied, which is good. So we are testing the user accounts. And then it says use the delete command. Okay, we've done that. Were you able to delete? The answer is no. Reason, permission. We did not grant the permission. It says use the rename command to attempt to change the file. All right, I'll rename it to this. All right, so did we permit rename? Yes, I think we permitted rename. So let us, let's give it a try. Rename a message new.txt. right? So we're to rename it to a message underscore rename.txt. Good. So look at it. File successfully renamed. Why? Because we have granted permission to that particular user. Were you able to rename it? The answer is yes. So it says quit FTP session and close this laptop. So quit FTP session. Okay, we didn't quit it. Quit FTP session. Close this laptop. Okay. Good. So completion at 90%. So let's check what have we not yet done, or what have we not done right, so that we can correct. So where we have issue is this same username and passwords. So let's look at it. Okay. Right. Configure. Put true. Okay. Let's see. Check results. So if we do that, this is still giving us incorrect. So we'll have to check that one. So we take it back. Then laptop username and password. So basically it's those username and passwords, those errors that I've told you. You see, username and password. So that is just the issue. It was kind of mixed up, but since we got it and our mails were able to go, that is just the problem. But every other thing, I think we are good. All right. So the problem was just in the mix-up of the email addresses. So thank you very, very much for your patience in attending to this class. So I want to find out, is there a question? Any question? All right, so I presume there's no question. So for the clarity and for the avoidance of doubt, we have agreed that we are going to reschedule the days of our class and then the timing. So our class is, we're no longer going to have class on a Sunday. We will now move our class to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So Monday and Tuesday, we will have it 8 to 10. And then Wednesday, we will have it 6 to 8. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. However, may I appeal so that we can be able to cover up, since we don't have much time, that we add the Thursday, the same Thursday, 6 to 8, and then let's see how we can cover up. Because after this week, we only have next week, and then the training is over. Okay, so I encourage you to do the packet tracer activities as much as you can. Also, do your online activities, your quizzes, your tests, and then we would be good. So thank you very much. Have a very good day. Good night.